I've made my favorite images ever in my career with the Sony Venice. Fine and nice. And I thought, well, if this is that much better, we're going to be able to make something really amazing with it. I love this because we've got this nice soft light coming in, a nice Vermeer light, only natural light. And let's have our little visit.
Oh, okay.
This is raw camera with clean Zeiss Supreme lenses and Fuji Premista zooms, 3:2 aspect ratio, the entire full-frame sensor in 8.6K, so that there's nothing between the cinematographers who are going to be watching this and the camera itself. Yeah, very nice. Shall we put a tighter lens on, get, over?
What Robert is trying to do is showcase the camera. It's a case of being able to use the camera as you would in the field with no lighting indoors and out.
Hi.
And up you go. I want to know what that image is to start with before I start modifying it, and that's what I'm trying to show everybody with this by keeping it as clean and simple as we possibly can.
We're using the full dynamic range all the time, almost always.
It's heavily overcast, but that sky, normally that sky would like white out on us, and I think it's going to hang on. That rising mist is beautiful.
Well, it's got a much deeper latitude, and we played around with a 3200 underwater and with the fire the other night, which was really interesting to see.
Looking at this, I'm seeing detail of those, it's the window. It's unbelievable.
It's amazing seeing, like I was talking about the color tones and how they roll off so nice and so gracefully, especially with just the skin tones.
We also were in amazing areas where, there was a lot of oohing and awing at what people were seeing every time.
Wow.
So it was obvious to everybody that this sensor was performing superior to the previous sensor, which people have been very excited about already.
The huge battle scene in Season 7 in Game of Thrones, we used literally every camera conveyance available. I want to see that camera put through every possible situation, so we're using it in drone, we're using it in aerial gimbal mounts on a helicopter, we're putting it in underwater housing, we're hand-holding it and putting it on the Steadicam. Even with these billboards here, if we were out here with whatever else, we'd have a Musco up the street, another one, or BB light down the other way. I think it would be smart to sell your stock in BB lights right now. Blacks look solid. It's hanging on to detail in this incredibly bright billboard really well, but digging into the shadows. I'd be shooting wide open. Maybe not right under these billboards when they get bright, but we'd be shooting wide open and need a bunch of big lights everywhere. And right now, we're 3200 ISO, and we're shooting at an 8-stop. Even on here, it's clean. Really impressive. Out here in the desert, what I really wanted to do was to put it to the test in terms of really strong contrast with no additional fill light.
It's great being able to shoot the sky, but also hold the mid-tones and holding, really digging into the blacks. It's fantastic.
If you're doing a driving shot inside a car and you're panning from outside to in, or you want to hold both the detail in the driver's face and the hot background, you had to pump a pile of light through the front windshield. There was no two ways about it. So I wanted to demonstrate how well it holds both ends of the spectrum, because it's really going to free filmmakers up. Let's take it somewhere with some scenery and stuff that we haven't seen before in these things, and to that end, I wanted to bring it up to British Columbia, Canada. As you can probably see, the weather's not too reliable here.
We're on Hornby Island, and we're trying to get a sense of the epic scale and scope and the natural beauty of the place, and, trying to show off. We've been big fans of the Sony Venice for a long time. We've been working on Ghostbusters to Jurassic World to the Deadpool movies. And yeah, it's super important to, get your hands on the gear and do the testing.
One of the few complaints about the original Venice from both assistants and everybody else was, it was a little bit heavy camera by the time they got all their accoutrements and accessories attached to it.
I like the way it's set up now without the extra recorder is great.
Being able to take that R7 recorder off and have it built in, even already our drone guys are saying, oh, this is so much easier to deal with.
And can you calibrate, please? The camera is in a much tighter package. For the gyro-stabilized gimbals, it's actually easier, much more compact. Smaller cameras just allow us to get in real tighter, take the viewer really into the action, especially drones, which we're sort of being constantly asked to use them like a 1,000-foot techno crane, where we're starting in, this tight and pulling out to these crazy big, wide-scale epic shots.
We got a drone up on some bluffs at sunrise, and then the sun popped through, absolutely blazing off the water, kicking off the water like crazy, but also with some deep shadows in the foreground because it hadn't, the skylight hadn't come up enough to fill it in, and it looks amazing.
When I'm trying to think about different tools I can use to, bring the viewer into the action, and I'm kind of known as a bit of an action guy, then I think the Sony Venice 2 is going to fit the bill beautifully.
We've been really enjoying the Venice 2, using it inside the underwater housing. We use the Hydroflex housing almost exclusively.
There you go, somewhere there. That's good.
So today we were out there and we had the dark BC waters, as we do.
For underwater photography, you want, sun directly overhead, and we had overcast.
The fact that the base ISO have been increased a bit, with the 3200 and the 800, has been fantastic. There you go. I didn't notice any noise when we were half in, half out, and close to the surface of the water. But when we tilted down and we were doing the deeper stuff, we were at our 3200 base. When we're shooting underwater, I'd say 90% of the time we're in dark environments. We don't often have a motivation for a light source underwater other than surface lighting. It's always the God light, and there was no noise. Still had a little bit of brightness, but it was nice and clean.
The Venice 2 at 3200 is amazingly clean, and we just used it for our underwater work, and it's a murky day. You can't see very well underwater. Normally it would be, it'd almost be a washout. It's rich and amazing. Here we go, we're rolling.
It's been a pleasure using this camera through this testing period with Rob for the past couple days. It has been a true pleasure and an honor. I'm going to hang the rig up after this show, so this is my last Steadicam show. There's 125 features. I think 45 years of Steadicam's probably enough for me. It has been a little bit easier to rig, and certainly the factory has thought out mounting points, at least from the Steadicam point of view. The menu is very simple. The camera is very simple to use and user-friendly. It's not as confusing as the earlier models. And it's amazing at 8K. And it's got some really simple features that work very well. I'm quite impressed with the whole rig. It's great. The dynamic range and the weight of the camera has made it so much easier going on and off drones, going on to Steadicam, handheld. So the size of this camera and the compactness of it is going to make a great asset to any set. So yes, I guess it's the way of the future.
I just wish like heck that I'd had this camera when I was shooting those big epic Game of Thrones episodes, because just the scope and the detail and the richness and the three-dimensionality of that quality of a picture is just that much greater, and therefore I think that much more engrossing and involving.